Dreamvisions7 radio network, and we'll be sharing more about how to connect with that. Today I have Carol Lynn Vengroff. She is an author, speaker, artist, and she tells her soul-touching near-death experience in her book, My Ever After Chronicles. It is all about love, forgiveness, gratitude, and remembering who we really are. Those are the keys. She's currently co-producing fun, enlightening, multifaceted, multimedia experiences called the Heaven 101 Project with author media personality Kelly Lang and Broadway theater, TV, and film luminary Reverend James Mellon. Now, her background, she has studied the techniques, the Silva Method, Reiki, Healing Hands International, the Hawaiian Huna Science, Lightworkers Healing Method, Emotion Code, and Animal Communications. We'll be going in and out of everywhere that she has been on her spiritual journey, her everything. So without further ado, I just want to go on, but without further ado, Carol, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Deborah.
And we already know Carol and I could talk for hours on end. But for the listeners, we invite them in to hear about your experience when you were 12. So share how this all transpired.
Well, over 50 years ago, I was living in France. My dad was in the Air Force, and our family, there were 8 of us, so we needed off-base housing. We had a beautiful French chateau on 10 acres. It was a gentleman's farm they were able to put us up in. And the house was really old. It was a couple hundred years old with those 2-foot-thick walls. They were, a foot-thick walls. The walls were really heavy. We had gone away for the winter vacation and came back in the middle of the night to a ice storm. And it was the coldest night in the recorded history of France. And when we got in the house, everything had frozen. The electric was gone because of the ice storm, and the person that was supposed to stoke the heaters, it never happened. They ran out of fuel. So we came into a freezing house. And my father just said, look, I know it's cold. There's no electric. There wasn't even any water. Just go to sleep. Just go to bed. We'll deal with it in the morning. We had been driving all night. So we all went to bed, and I was really tiny. I was nothing. There was nothing to me. And in the bed, which was freezing, I just started losing my feeling, my hands, my feet, my face. And slowly I lost complete feeling of everything, and then I died. I just left. I left my body, and I had what they call as a near-death experience, where I actually saw myself over my body. I saw me sleeping in my bed, and then I just started leaving and going out. And I went out past the roof of the house. I remember seeing the roof of the house and going through the rafters and just going out into the crisp night air. And at one point, it wasn't so much a tunnel, it was just leaving. I noticed there was a light, and I was fascinated with this light, and I started going towards the light. The cliche, I really went towards the light. But in that process, I had a life review. And though I was only 12 years old, it was really awesome. And I got to relive every moment of my life from the moment I was born till that moment of that night. And the thing that fascinated me was that not only did I relive it from my vantage point and how everything that I did had an effect on everybody that I had contact with, but I got to feel how they felt, which was amazing. So I got to see how everything I had ever done had an effect. It had a ripple effect on those around me. And not only on those people, but I also saw how it affected people that they came in contact with too. Now, because we have no real age in the spirit sense, there wasn't an age for me. I wasn't 12 years old when I had this experience. I was ageless, so I'm able to process it even now as an adult as I was then as a 12-year-old. I was greeted by my grandfather when I finally arrived at the light, and then I had a welcome home party. Like many people talk about, there were other souls, other spirits there to welcome me, and it was amazing, and I felt so loved.
And now you, if I may interject, you didn't meet your grandfather on Earth.
No.
He had already crossed over, and yet when you were there in the realm, you knew and felt him.
That's right, which was a curious thing because he had died 5 years before I was born, yet we missed each other, which also is like a red light flashing, like, wait a second, we know each other.
Uh-huh.
I believe we all do know each other from whatever, another time and place, that we all are connected. And for me, that was my proof when I saw my grandfather again. There are others, and in the welcome home party was just beautiful, and it was all about me. It was the most wonderful feeling. Everybody, all the energy was focused on welcoming me back home. And I believe each person has the same experience. That is my sense of it, and I've heard other people talk who've had the same experience, who have had the near-death experience, and we all basically have the same experience, that we filter it differently when we try to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on, and I talk about having the knowledge, I guess you could call it the Akashic records, which are the records of everything, of all time, of everything. And I actually received that as a gift, and I believe we all have that inside of us, too. We can't remember it. Our minds would explode. And I remember laughing when I was given the answers, saying, there's no way on a human level. We just don't have frequencies. We don't have dimensions that you're talking about here. There's no way to explain it or understand it. But when we're in spirit, we are so expanded that anything is possible, and we do understand. And then it goes on and on to finally, ultimately, and it's all in my book, my Ever After Chronicles, but ultimately I had the experience of the connection to everything, which I call the God consciousness, and that is understanding how we're all connected and understanding the absolute ultimate. It is the yin and the yang. It's the going out into the universe is expanding as far as possible, and then some, and then going inward and doing the same thing in an inward and an outward, like a telescope and a microscope, with love. And it was all about love. And in the love, the saturation that we call God is so profound that there's no room for anything. There's no room for darkness in that light, in that love, in that vibration, in that frequency. There's no room for judgment. There's no room for hate. There's no room for what we consider a negative. There's no room for anything that will take you away from expansion and creativity. Mm. And that is everything that I just mentioned, the opposite of it, which is judgment and hate and sorrow. That is contrived here on earth. I really believe that. It does not exist in that other realm. It can't exist. I also had a very profound, for me, a Christ consciousness experience, which I share in the book too. But I don't think I'm going to talk about that today. What I am going to talk about is what I learned, and that's what we can start discussing now.
Sure. And what I want to see if how you feel about, in my own being, I feel, and from knowledge that you receive, that eventually the human race, humanity, will rise into higher frequencies, so they'll be able to absorb more of the light and the glow and everything that is possible. We'll be able to do things that we're not able to do now once we evolve more in that respect. How do you feel about that?
I believe it's already started.
Yes.
I believe that the reason why I remembered this recently, I couldn't before this. I had a family to raise, and I don't think this planet was really ready for it. We had other things to do, and I think that it's snowballing now, and so many of us are coming forward, and so many of us have information, and so many of us are starting to actually change on I don't know if it's a DNA level, but certainly on a light level. You're saying absorb the light, but actually the way I see it, we all have that light within us.
Absolutely.
And we have the blocks. We were born here, sort of Men in Black, when they flash that pen in your face and you forget everything.
Mm-hmm.
When we were born, and this is my truth, it's my truth, and if it resonates, that's wonderful. And if it doesn't, you're not, that's not your truth. But my truth is, when we're born, they have to do that. We can't possibly remember everything. Some of us do, but there's just so much, and we need to go through it. We need to go through with our life lessons. But what's happening now, it is time, and people are starting to get it, and they're starting to shift, and they're starting to realize something doesn't feel right with what I was brought up with, what I was taught. It's not resonating correctly in me, and I want to know the truth, and people are looking.
Right, absolutely. And as we expand, we'll be able to absorb and see. I feel as though the veil that they speak of to the other side will be thinner or may even dissolve. Anything's possible.
Absolutely. That's why I think that's one of the reasons why I came back to assist any way I can. And thank you for inviting me to talk.
You're welcome. And all of us, and you speak of that in the book, each of us has a message when we come. And it's really getting to a place where we are living from universal law, in taking that time to expand and meditate, so that we can bring in the knowledge that we already have, that we have covered up, per se, with all our minutia of living day to day in the world that we are in. So, yeah. So now you have 3 ways that what you want to bring to the table. So share on that.
Thank you. Well, I have my little mantra, and it aligns with everywhere I go. Everyone I'm reading. It's basically, we all say the same thing, and it blows my mind, because I wrote the words down when I first started on this journey, and I had never really read the other people's experiences, and we all say the same thing. And it starts with love, and the love is really, and I know John Lennon sang about it, and I wasn't listening back then, but it is about love, because you can either be in love or you can be in fear. You can't have both. You can be in love, you can be in hate. You can be in love, you can be in judgment. You can't have both. And what I do now, and it's really easy, as soon as I find myself in a fearful moment, I just stop and remember that's a control. I choose, and we get choice. You know that. I know you know that. Choice is huge. I choose not to choose that. I choose to let that go and focus back to the love, because it really doesn't matter. What matters is bringing love and light to it. That's the first one.
And allow.
Yeah, go ahead.
Allow that love to grow and expand, and it's like you said, choosing, but to allow that to be. So many of us put limits on everything, including love.
Right. Well, yes. One of the ways, of course, is when you meditate, you go to the heart, and you bring, you ground, and then you bring in from source, and then you expand your heart. Another, through prayer, through yoga, through song. There's just so many ways. Through when you find you don't have sense of time, that's usually a good indicator. And then you bring the love. You connect to the love. So that is so powerful. The second one is forgiveness, and forgiveness is the root of imbalance. Forgiveness is the root of disease, and forgiveness, it has the ability to heal. That is healing, when we learn to forgive. And to learn to forgive, if you just say it, has no, you say, oh, well, the church has been trying to tell us that. But really what it's about is, in my near-death experience, I saw how the only one judging me was me.
Right.
God does not judge me. And the others, in the other realm did not judge me. They were fascinated by my experiences and what I was doing, but there was nothing to forgive on their vantage point. It was just experiences that I was allowing into my life and I was having. So the forgiveness is I had to learn to forgive myself, and I had to see how others were forgiving me.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see why we did everything and the big, big picture, it's so easy to forgive after the fact.
Right.
Coming from where we are, this vantage point, it's like, are you kidding me? But from the other one, you say, oh, that's why that happened. If I had known that, I wouldn't have been angry, or I wouldn't have taken it personally. I would have understood that was a gift. That was a gift.
Right.
Because had it not happened, I couldn't have gone this direction or that direction or learned this or that or met somebody or whatever. So the forgiveness is the second one. The third one, well, the other, actually, what goes with forgiveness, believe it or not, is the gratitude, and I know you know about that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about it, all the things that come into play, as you're saying, and what you learn as you go along your journey, when you've said yes, bring it on. I want to learn. I want to grow my soul.
Right.
They're all interconnected. The surrender with the forgiveness, the free of limitation is tied into the love. Everything is interconnected. But the foundation and ultimate piece for me and my truth is love, unconditional love for self. And that's really where it all starts. It's not about loving someone else or finding someone to fill you up or think they're filling you up. It's all about finding that love for self. So when you are alone or when you are going through a tumultuous time, that love sees you through. And that's really the light that you're speaking of that's within us all.
Right. Yeah, with what self-love actually is, we're connected. When you allow yourself to love, we connect with Source. We're never really alone.
That's right.
In my life review, believe it or not, I remember being born, and I was maybe a day or two old. I couldn't have been any older. There were no words, and I just knew. I knew there were no words, but I knew I was part of a love connection, a love. With God. And I knew I was cherished. I knew I was loved. And that actually sustained me in some pretty crazy things that happened as I got older, that I never felt alone, ever. And if we can get to that place, that is the cornerstone. That's the basis of forming healthy relationships, too. Because when you understand that, you're complete. Then you can garnish it with someone else in your life.
Yes, I love that. Garnish it.
Well, then it works. Then your relationships work. Mine with my husband, we were total opposites. We pretty much don't agree on anything. We've been together 35 years.
Wow.
And I love that he loves me just as I am, doesn't ever want to change me, and that we're always learning from each other, because it would have been really boring if we agreed. But I'm always learning. I don't have to agree with him. But I am learning, and he keeps expanding my universe, to say the least. And it's fascinating, but it works. But if I didn't have the love inside of me and feel complete, this relationship, it would have been sad. It would never had worked, but it is working, and it's amazing.
Yeah, so you're really living the relationship through a higher perspective of seeing and consciousness, where you're seeing what really is behind the curtain, per se, right. And you're able to come together in compassion, honoring each other. Well, we need to take our first break, Carol, and listeners, so don't go away. Stay with us. We'll have more with Carol Lynn Vengroff. Her site to connect with her is My Ever After Chronicles, and that's the name of her glorious book.
It's a different yet profound healing
Station, which is Dream Visions, all one word with an S on the air, just for you, the listener, and I thank you for tuning in. We're with Carol Lynn Vengroff, author, speaker, artist. She has a number of modalities under her belt, and we're talking about her book, My Ever After Chronicles, her near-death experience when she was just 12 years old, the messages she received when she came back, and this is her life's work, is to enlighten us. So let's get into number 3, Carol.
Well, number 3 is remember, and that's sweet that you're saying to enlighten you. It's not. It's I can't enlighten you, but what I can do.
Well, yes, you can.
I can try to trigger the memory within you so that you can remember and the light within. And I think that's really what it's about. And that's what so many of us are doing now. When we've had our near-death experience, and now we're finding there's more and more and more people are starting to remember their experience, which is a little wake-up call for them.
Right, and it's proof of what you were saying earlier, that we're already rising. The frequency is expanding and rising in each of us, and we're able to do that if we, even if you're not, I think what's happening now is even if you're not conscious and you're just going, like I mentioned earlier, through day-to-day minutia, there's something that's flickering, and you become curious, or someone says something just the right way, and your ears perk up, and that's really the beginning of opening your heart and sitting quietly and finding your own way. And everyone's unique, and yet we're all going in the same direction.
I think so. I think I'm getting a lot of mail from around the world, and basically it's really exciting. I can't believe this, but I'm getting from South America, from Australia, from Indonesia, from oh my gosh, just everywhere. And it's basically the same questions. And what's happening are a lot of hearts aren't resonating with the old stories, with religion, with the religions that they were brought up with. And they're saying, it just isn't feeling right. I don't understand this judgment that we're being judged, and I don't understand that, we have to, that God is a God to fear. And what I say is, I'll tell you my truth and what I found to be the truth for me. You have to find your own, and you need to investigate, and it's all out there. And it's happening quicker and faster. We're connecting easier, and it's all out there. It's all available. And it's happening more and more and more, and I believe time is actually speeding up. But I also believe in that it's speeding up, that more of us are starting to remember, even as a child, that we were told things, go, wait a second, that didn't sound right, that doesn't add up, that doesn't feel right. So we're starting to investigate, we're starting to listen. Like you say, our ears are picking up, or we'll hear something, or there'll be a synchronicity or a seeming coincidence.
Right.
And if we give ourselves the luxury of paying attention to it, and maybe not pushing it off and saying, well, no, I was told that was my imagination, or I was told, nah, that's not real, it's me being silly, or, that it can't be true. If we start listening to our inner hearts, we're going to start learning, and it's going to happen quicker and quicker, and we start connecting to the truth and the light within. So the third part of my experience was to remember who we really are. When we remember that we're all connected, and we're all connected, and I digress again, but when I talk, I usually look around the room when I give my talks, and I look at everybody, and I have to laugh, because I go, okay, so you have to know something here. I said, as a near-death experiencer, I know that I know each and every one of you. On a very personal level, we've all known each other. We've been through things together, another life, another time, another place. You don't maybe remember it, but I do. And it's exciting to see this time what body you picked. Look who you are. I said, so this is what you look like now, or what was your experience? What was it? What did you come here to learn? What's your life lesson? Right. Who did you pick for your families? What religion did you choose this time? And it's really exciting to see that. I mean, if you just walk in the street or just look around you, and everyone that's there, it's not a coincidence. We are all put here for an absolute reason, and we all know each other, but we forgot. So it's exciting to see people and how they're showing up in this lifetime. And when you know that, it really actually it makes it pretty exciting to meet, to reconnect again. And now some of my friends are actually getting it, and we laugh, and we just have to have a great time with it. We have a great time with it. So the thing with remembering, I have been guided. I feel like I'm being guided to create multimedia, as we call them, art shows or art experience or theater experience or film experiences. But it's sort of like if you go to Disney and you go on the Epcot thing, the ball, and you go through Spaceship Earth, and you sort of, I don't know if have you been to that ride?
Yes.
So it takes you through the history of mankind, and they bombard all your senses, and I'm sure there's subconscious things going on subliminal levels also there. What I'd like to do, what I see, and I'm starting to actually work with, like you're saying, Kelly and James out in L.A., and there's other luminaries who are showing up. I mean, they're just showing up. They're appearing. They're calling me. They're showing up on my doorstep, literally, saying, I have a feeling, I'm supposed to do something. And we're all starting to unite and get this together. And the experience, one is a play that they're working on in L.A. right now, that they're finishing the writing in it, and then they're putting it into I forgot what you call, like a script form, to possibly do a film about it. And that's about remembering who we are. And that's Kelly's baby. Kelly and I are also co-authoring a new book called Heaven 101, which is not about the near-death experience, but what heaven is like through not only my eyes, but through other people that have had the experience and have the knowing. Because there's so many different ways to describe it, and it's like a net, and you catch different people with different descriptions. So mine might not work for somebody what I'm describing, but yet somebody else's will resonate within, so that they can start getting their aha moment, like, this sounds familiar, this tastes familiar, this looks familiar, this feels familiar. So that's another part is the book. Then from the book, I'm developing a experience which you actually physically will walk through, like that ride, or maybe you'll ride through it. I'm not quite sure yet, but it's starting to take place. It's starting to shape up, and it is an experience of a vibration. It's sound. There are sounds that are showing up again that we have lost. We lost them thousands of years ago, or hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and they're starting to resurface again. And the reason why they were, quote unquote, lost was because they allow you to connect to spirit. So there's people doing research, Emoto, with the water,
right.
Simple water, and how we're made of water, and how profound and powerful that is just to get his. So there's sound, there's light, there's things being done with light, there's people dedicating their lives to all these different modalities, whether it's a light or sound, and they all, by the way, have a tendency to heal. If you are
absolutely
ready to be healed, it could take away it dissolves the blocks, and then with the blocks dissolve, our body can naturally heal itself.
Right. There are sounds, I think we mentioned, off the show, Jill Mattson, who creates sound that's connected to different emotions and different parts of our body that heal or open us up or can do all kinds of things. And this goes back from the beginning of time. But I think what happened is, because of the way the human has been designed to learn and grow through adversity, lessons, all the different things that happen, that all of the knowledge that was there at the beginning has been stuffed somewhere and hidden, and now it's surfacing as we grow and evolve. So it's fascinating. Well, I mean, it goes on, and this is what's so fun about it, I think, is having conversations and speaking of it, because then, that's how we learn and grow more. But we need to take our next break, Carol.
Okay.
And so for everyone out there, we'll be back in a moment. Our conversation with Carol Vengroff, author of My Ever After Chronicles, which is exactly her website. You can get the book right on her website. It is published by Balboa, which is part of the Hay House Group, and it's myeverafterchronicles.com. And you can connect with her there and purchase the book. And we have the book on our Books We Adore, and her book is going to be coming up to promote pretty soon. So your mission, and we talk so much about all the different things that we can do to be conscious, be aware, live in that buoyancy of excitement, as you've talked. It's really clarity. I think that as you go along, things will be clearer, and it's all done in like steps. It's not too much too soon. Would you agree?
Yep, I agree. I think when you're what is it? When you're ready, the master will appear.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us are starting to wake up, and the masters are appearing. There's so many wonderful, wonderful people, and it just seems like we're multiplying. They're multiplying, and there's so many ways that they're showing up in books, in movies now, in
yeah, that's exciting.
YouTube and social media, radio. You're beautiful. Oh my goodness, your station is like a smorgasbord. It's like being in a candy store. I don't know who to listen to.
Well, thank you. And that is, I mean, we're in service, and that's the other piece of it. When you get it and you're there, and you're such in gratitude for breathing and having the opportunity to live and explore and transcend and all, then you start to want to give back. You want to serve. And usually it's through the gifts that you receive of who you are, and you turn that into serving others and helping others. And it's a funny thing. Someone can say the same thing, but if you hear it a certain way, or if you're silent for a moment and it comes in, then it's like bing, and then you're on your next step.
Oh, that's what I was saying before with the different people. We all have, I believe, a pretty similar experience when we leave here.
Yeah,
that's my belief. But we all have different experiences here. So when we come back and try to put into words something that's impossible,
it's so simplistic, though. Really, when you think about it, love is love, and I mean, think about Jesus. His whole message was the purity of love, and yet some humans still had a challenge of questioning, is it real, or is this a farce, or is this evil, or whatever, and it's just love.
It is, and that you're absolutely right. His message was simply love.
Yeah, and you felt him and visited with him when you were there.
I did. I still do. And
yeah.
It's about how can we do these things to each other? Guys, wake up. We are connected, and when you meet each other, which is beautiful on the other side, and we do, and the ones that we did these, quote unquote, did these things to are there without any judgment of us, welcoming us with open hearts and open arms, and you go, oh my gosh, how could you love me so unconditionally? And then you get your answer.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was because we signed up before you came so that you could have this experience. And we signed up for the roles to play to allow you to experience what you needed to experience. And though it may have seemed like something that needed forgiveness, it wasn't about forgiveness. It was about you experiencing something. And it could be, and usually what we experience is the opposite of what we came for. So like if it could be about learning to have courage or integrity or selflessness or compassion. So selflessness might look like, or compassion might look like, we come here in as a homeless person, or we come here and become homeless and we a victim. And really, it's so that we can understand, we can try that out and see what that feels like, so that we can have that essence. And then we go back and we got it. Say, oh my gosh, I know now what that feels like. And then you can add that to the Akashic Records, but that's not who we really are. That's the experience that we chose. And sometimes the people that we're the most angriest with were the people who on the other side, and this is a tough one, but this is my truth, and if you talk to anyone who's had a near-death experience, we almost all say exactly the same thing. That person that gave you the biggest problem did not want to sign up for that role in your life because they knew that they were going to have to come down hard on you, or that you were going to have these emotions against them. But they loved us so much that they agreed. They agreed to be that thorn in our side, or that person that really challenges us here.
So that we have the opportunity for growth.
Yes.
And to feel that.
There's a lot going on a lot of different levels, and it doesn't make sense the way that we were indoctrinated from birth. You know, when we're here, none of this makes, and most of it doesn't make any sense unless you've grown up with really enlightened parents. None of it makes sense. But when you see it and you start learning it, somewhere you have a little thing inside of you going, wait a second, this isn't adding up, and then you start doing your research and you find out, oh, now I get it. I just thought of something that I want to say while I'm remembering it, because I am getting older now.
Yeah.
And my memory's here at the moment. One of the things, and this is the most, probably besides the love, forgiveness, and remembering who we are, this is probably, in gratitude, of course, the most powerful thing, the most important thing I can say. And that is that everything has a frequency and a vibration, starting with a thought. If we start with a thought, actually, a thought is not just a thought. It actually can become and does become a reality. So whatever we think, whatever we start in our heart as a thought, we manifest, and it becomes a reality.
Right.
So it has an energetic feel to it. It has a actual frequency to it, if that makes any sense.
Right. Well, in essence, it's, as we say, whatever we think and feel, that's what we're going to attract.
Absolutely. Or create.
Right, and vice versa, yes.
So you really want to be cognizant of what you put out there.
And what
you think.
What you think, right. Because you can, and that's really how you heal it all. You know, if you're feeling the victim, you know, then you notice the thoughts and you acknowledge them and then turn them around.
You cancel them. You say, cancel. I think that's one.
Right. And replace it with a loving thought and knowing that you're safe and it's okay. And it's all those healing pieces that you do that brings a different way of thinking. And sometimes something crops through and you're like, oh, what are you doing here? And then you just, you know, honor it, release it, because you've already worked on that. And it's fascinating.
It is.
It's almost like a quiz or a game or something to that effect, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when you see it again from the other perspective after you leave here, and you will, and you get it, oh my gosh, I had to have that experience to get to the next level or to fulfill whatever it is, that you realize that wasn't being done to me.
Right.
I asked for that. I asked for it, and I got it. Now, again, we do have choice, and we can change things, and that's where we can't understand everything, but we absolutely have the power to change everything. And it starts with our heart.
Right.
So,
and I think that's, what happens is, because I was there, someone would speak of things of this sort, and I'd be, but, you haven't experienced this, and but always thinking of, turning everything back to feeling like a victim, and no one has experienced all that I have experienced, that kind of a thing. But when you release all that and know the core of it, replace it with love, then you're able to see what you were doing, and you can hear other people, especially with money. People will say, but you don't know what's really going on. Well, all of it's going on so that we can see it, feel it, and move away from it. And that's through, doing all the steps that we receive, and you get to the gratitude. I can go on about all of that, because when you experience it and feel it and see it, then you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah. It's just letting go. I have my Baptist sister, who I love dearly, who does not understand any of this, did give me Jesus' Calling, and it's a beautiful book by Sarah Young, and I read it every single day, and I love it. And it's the same thing. It's like 365 ways to say, just let it go.
Yeah.
Just trust. Trust me.
Trust is huge. Yes.
And it works, and the more I let it go, the more it works. It's just fascinating. Wow, it really does work. And then when it really works, I'm surprised again, and I know better.
But it's fun. It becomes fun.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And I meet people like you. You see, I get to meet wonderful, wonderful beings who are in alignment, and not only in alignment, but we can expand together. And I think, that's important if you're a newbie at this, to surround yourself with like-minded so that you can expand, and share and grow that light together.
Yes. Well, we need to tie it up. I'd like you to just leave the listeners with a perfect sentence. What would that be, Carol?
Well, I have 3 perfect sentences from the ending of my book that I'm going to share. And one is about connecting, that we understand we are connected to God, and God is a perfect vibration, light, every number, pure, overwhelming, amazing, spectacular love in every form and sense possible. God is a frequency, and it's so perfect, so luminescent, and so delicately calibrated, and resonates at such a high and perfect vibration that there is only room for pure joy. And God's truth and love are so saturating and so dense that evil cannot exist with the truth of His love.
And with that, we need to say, au revoir, perfect ending.
Thank you. Love.
Thank you.